Kana ukarota nyika ino isingatongwi neZANU-PF mukaubike doro kuti hope dzadzepi.
The MDCT President Douglas Mwonzora made a surprise 360 turn to join the Political Actors Dialogue POLAD, attending his first meeting at State House Friday. Mwonzora was officially welcomed by President and ZANU-PF First Secretary Emmerson Mnangagwa, who resisted attempts by the MDCT leader to have any talks outside POLAD. Since assuming leadership of the MDCT, Mwonzora had vowed not to join POLAD and instead handed Mnangagwa his own position paper on how the talks should take shape. But he was spurned. Mnangagwa addressed the POLAD members.
The conveners, Justice Nare and Mrs. Mukanana, the principals of the Political Actors Dialogue, cabinet ministers were here, the Chief Secretary to the President Cabinet, Dr. Spanda, Head of the Secretariat, Advocate Mabiza, other senior government officials who are here with us. Allow me to express my sincere gratitude as I welcome you to this executive plenary meeting of POLAD. But before I proceed, may I formally welcome Mr. Douglas Mwonzora, President of the MDC, who has joined us. Welcome, my dear brother and colleague, to this POLAD forum. I am aware that it has been a while since we last met as principals as a result of the constraints imposed by the COVID-19 pandemic. I, however, appreciate the good work that you have been undertaking in your respective thematic committees as presented today by the convener. The continued activities by the principals demonstrates how we have shown resilience against all odds as we embark on our nation-building activities. I believe that our democracy is not defined by external forces, but by the people of Zimbabwe. It is therefore our collective responsibility to build our nation together. We established POLAD as our platform to dialogue as leaders of political parties with the view to moving our country forward in line with our national development policies. My fellow countrymen, let me take this opportunity to state that we are meeting today immediately after my visit to the United Nations General Assembly session, 77th session, which provided a platform for us to discuss inter alia pressing international issues such as climate change and food security across the world. My government took advantage of the platform to call for the removal of the illegal economic sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe. Our call for the removal of sanctions was also echoed by SADC member states, as well as the AU chairperson, Moussa Faki, and the president of the AU, Macky Sall, president of Senegal, which is a sign of the continental solidarity on this issue. Therefore, let me express my heartfelt gratitude to the African leaders that have spoken passionately on the issue of removal of sanctions. In fact, 11 heads of state expressed themselves against the imposition of sanctions on our country. Recently, the South African president spoke to the Biden administration, reiterating how sanctions imposed on Zimbabwe have affected the SADC region collectively. I call upon the principals, yourselves, to join in the commemorations of the Anti-Sanctions Day scheduled to be held on the 25th of October annually as a position of SADC. As you may be aware, the United Special Rapporteur on the negative impact of the unilateral coercive measures on the enjoyment of human rights formally presented a report at the 51st session of the Human Rights Council, asserting that the illegal economic sanctions imposed on our country are not justifiable. This nullifies the Western rhetoric that the sanctions are targeted. POLAD's participation during the United Special Rapporteur's visit has not gone unnoticed, and this is evidenced in a report in Geneva. The Special Rapporteur has recommended the lifting of the unilateral sanctions in line with the principles of international law. My dear fellow principals, the last time that we met, our nation was under siege by unscrupulous economic saboteurs that were constantly hiking prices, and this was part of a wider political plot to destabilize our country and our nation. However, our efforts as POLAD have reaffirmed our patriotism and a singular purpose for the common good. In particular, the currency endeavor was a milestone that brought about meaningful proposals to stabilize our currency in the country. My government's intention is to foster development for the people of Zimbabwe, anchored on the strength of our own currency. In this regard, the introduction of gold coins into the market has provided investment alternative as a store of value. My government shall endeavor to make the gold coins accessible to everyone by way of producing smaller value coins as we move forward with our thrust to leave no one behind. Our economic reforms have resulted in stability of our local currency, with the gap between the official and the parallel market exchange rates narrowing. As a result, there has been substantial demand for the local currency, and this indicates the improved economic performance in that regard. My fellow principals, the demand for energy has risen, and this is a significant indicator that our country is industrializing. Our consumption of electricity has tremendously risen, as expected for a country that intends to be an upper middle income economy by 2030. My government is therefore making frantic efforts to increase power generation, including pursuing green energy sources such as solar energy. A number of expansion projects are underway to improve performance of the national grid. In the same vein, I'm delighted to inform you that Evictus, exploring for natural gas and oil in Mwonzora, upon confirmation, will lower the prices of energy in the country. In light of this development, my government has started crafting policies for value addition in this sector. You may also be aware that we have been touring our industries with a view to identifying gaps that we need to address in order to capacitate and revive our industries. As we approach the 2023 harmonized elections, we continue to encourage all political parties to desist from any acts of violence. On that note, let me take this opportunity to reiterate that violence has no place in our society. Peace and tranquility must be synonymous with how we conduct our elections. I therefore urge you, as political actors, to preach the gospel of peace, denounce hate speech, and any malice that will tarnish the credibility of our democracy. Consequently, there is need to ensure the electoral code of conduct is adhered to throughout the election cycle. I should have mentioned that with regard to energy, next month in November, of the two plants at Wange, Plant 7 and Plant 8, Plant 7 will be on stream next month, giving us 300 megawatts, and Plant 8 will be on stream in March next year, giving us another 300 megawatts, which means within the next 6 months, we shall have an additional 600 megawatts brought onto our grid. My government is preparing for the ensuing agricultural season. It is anticipated that this year our country will receive favorable rains, and preparations are on track to procure inputs to assist our farmers in the agricultural sector. Perhaps I might mention here that in the history of this country, we have never experienced adequate supply of wheat. We have been importing our wheat from Ukraine and our fertilizer from Russia throughout this history of our country. But my government took a deliberate policy to be self-sufficient. Wheat, we used to produce only 2.5 to 3 months of wheat in this country, but under the model we introduced this year or this last season, the current season, we have now produced, out of the 12 months of supply, we have now produced 13 months of supply of wheat. And I believe that our Minister of Agriculture, who is in the room, will continue to increase the number of months of production per season. The same we are going to achieve with regard to grain, so that in the area of food security, we are certain that the challenge will be behind us. During the 2022-23 season, government is targeting 3.5 million households beneficiaries under the Mwonzora Intwasa program. We estimate that if the 3.5 million households each is supported, we have no doubt that food security at the household level will be secure. It is pertinent to note that agriculture is the backbone of our country, and its capacitation will ensure food security for our people. I appreciate your desire to own land as Zimbabweans. The last time we met, my fellow principals, you presented a number of challenges, including access to land. I don't know whether this challenge is still as strong as before, but let me assure you that the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture and Fisheries, Water and Rural Resettlement embarked on a successful land audit with the view to ensuring equitable distribution of land, so that those who have excess land, we take it away. Those who have derelict land, we take it away. Those who have multiple farms, we take the extra farms away and have such land redistributed. Let me assure you that our land is available to all Zimbabweans, and it is the duty of the responsible ministry to allocate land in a manner that is accordance with the law. We should not discriminate in the allocation of land. I'm aware that as principals, we have been to the Minister of Lands in your respective provinces to get assistance in acquiring land. Your welfare committee should continue to engage the Ministry of Lands for finalization of the process, which I am reliably informed is at an advanced stage. Well, the minister is here if you have any queries. In conclusion, let me assure you that my government remains resolute in its thrust to leave no one and no place behind in our development agenda. Together we achieve more in building our country together. As POLAD, let us continue to engage communities through our respective thematic committees. The commitment by POLAD to improve the lives of our people through community projects is visible and well appreciated. You should not be discouraged by those who express in the media sentiments against this body. Ignore them. Ignore them. Work and contribute to the building of your motherland, Zimbabwe. God bless you all. God bless Zimbabwe. I thank you.
The co-convener of POLAD, Margaret Mukahanana Sangarwe, addressed journalists following a POLAD Actors Closed Door meeting, where the issue of 2023 general elections nomination fees was topical, before NCA leader Lovemore Maduku delivered a vote of thanks.
And they also expressed their will to intensify the re-engagement efforts, given that the COVID is at least behind us. Then the Governance and Legislative Committee reported that they did submit to government their comments on the electoral reforms, and that they are now waiting for the bill that has been drafted so that they can do further re-engagements. They also expressed the concern over the registration fees for presidential candidates that were announced by ZEC, and they said that they are going to continue to re-engage the respective authorities on that issue. And then the Economy Subcommittee, we're happy that government adopted some of the recommendations from the POLAD current indaba. And they also commended government on the interventions that government has done to stabilize the currency. They also visited the southern region, industries in the southern region, just to see what are the challenges. And they actually mentioned that some of the challenges include the issue of capacity utilization. And they are hoping that they will visit other industries in the other regions, and then they can submit a report to government in terms of their recommendations in how to revive our industry. And then the Information and Publicity Subcommittee said that they are working on an information booklet to publicize the activities of POLAD. Then the National Hearing and National Building Committee reported that they are involved with the National Peace and Reconciliation Committee to come up with a peace pledge in view of the upcoming harmonized elections, which they hope that all political parties will be able to sign. And then last but not least, there was a report from the Mile Committee, and they were concerned that most of the activities of that POLAD had set itself to do did not happen, mainly because of the COVID pandemic, and also that they may need more resources to be able to implement the POLAD activities. So this is basically the summary of the discussions that took place here. For the information of the press. Thank you.
On behalf of my colleagues, the fellow principals, would like to thank Your Excellency for the time that you have availed for us to express all the various issues that have been placed on the table. We respect this framework, which is an opportunity for us as Zimbabweans to show that we can work together as one family, regardless of our political differences. We appreciate the time that you give. We also appreciate the interventions that you have made, more so the leadership that you have provided, all the issues that you have raised. We are satisfied that there is a direction that you have given. We will follow that. So we don't take for granted the time that we have given. We have seen it's over 2.5 hours with you. It shows the commitment. We would like to say to the press that these platforms, when time comes, it will be clear that they are the platforms that have shaped the direction of the country. So we thank you very much for that time, and I would like to thank the government ministers who have been with us, who have accompanied you. The Chief Secretary also thank, most importantly, our Secretariat. On behalf of my other colleagues, I also wish to welcome Mr. Mwonzora as a vote of thanks, the inputs he has given, and I would like to assure him as well that as POLAD principals, we welcome him and will certainly positively consider the proposals he has given us. Those are my remarks. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Maduku told the press they were happy with the alleged progress of POLAD, especially around proposed electoral reforms.
Number of areas that they've taken from the proposals that we have given. We're very happy about that. The bill will be coming out, so POLAD has scored there. We of course also raised our concern relating to the nomination fees by ZEC, but that president is not involved in it. We have indicated that we are continuing to engage the relevant authorities. Then we also had the wide-ranging discussions on food security in particular, and then we had our committee on national healing, which is trying to ensure that the next elections would not in any way be violent, whatever. So how much do we get in terms of tolerance? But most importantly, what did happen in the past 2.5 hours with the president was to promote this culture now and in the future, that different political parties must work together. Winners must work with losers, and that is what will make a Zimbabwean culture. That's all what has happened. Electoral bill that is coming out, and that you will see that, for example, we've made it easier. You saw the announcement that said that any person can now register very easily to be able to be on the voters' roll. So we've taken out, here in this meeting, the president has indicated that there would be no payments whatsoever for birth certificate, national IDs, and so on, to enable everyone to be able to register to vote. So there will be an easy access onto the voters' roll.
Mwonzora took questions from journalists, telling them only dialogue was the answer.
We have always said that the problems of this country can be resolved via dialogue, and the dialogue must be encouraged. And this is dialogue not in order to share state power, but this is dialogue so that we institute key political, social, and economic reforms which are beneficial to the people of Zimbabwe. So this is dialogue not for the principal's benefit, but for the people of Zimbabwe.
You speak of dialogue, and we heard the president speaking of peace and unity ahead of the 2023 election. What is your message as Zimbabwe looks towards the harmonized elections?
Yes, we totally agree that there must be peace. There mustn't be any bloodletting in our elections. Talking about the MDC's principal aim is to take over governmental power through peaceful, democratic, and constitutional means, govern differently and change the lives of our people for the better. So we do agree that there must be peace. We were also encouraged that some of the principals have actually said that there is need for all political contestants to sign a peace pledge, and we totally support that, and we are going to help in crafting that peace pledge.
Zimbabwe heads for a watershed general election in 2023, which main opposition party CCC has said should only happen after sweeping electoral reforms. The CCC leader has stayed out of POLAD, saying it's nothing but a choir meant to sanitize President Mnangagwa. Not much has come from POLAD since it was convened, except off-road vehicles for the presidential candidates who lost to Mnangagwa, failing to garner collectively 5% of the national vote. Mwonzora, who had vowed not to join POLAD, has been forced into the talks after losing his bragging rights as an opposition leader of note. The March 26 by-elections exposed his party after he failed to win a single seat while losing by embarrassing margins. He has since pulled his outfit from by-elections to save himself from further embarrassment. For HSTV News and Current Affairs, Gaddafi Wells, State House.